session, no worries, we've got you covered. All recordings and registrations are available on rlpnetwork.com under the training tab. During the webinar, if you have a question for Michael, please use the Q&A function. The Q&A icon is at the bottom of your desktop screen or in the three-dot menu at the bottom right of your mobile device. Please note, Q&A is the source where we take questions from, but next to the Q&A icon is the chat icon. Please use the chat feature to share any comments or observations with your colleagues. Ensure your chat response is set to all attendees, and we all see what you have to share. So let's try that now. Use the chat and share with us where you are joining us from in this great, big, beautiful country we call home. Let's see. Good morning, all, from Michael. Welland. So Montreal, so some Quebec, so a few.
Oh, right.
Great. St. Catharines. Any Western Canadians? Cabbagetown, that's pretty specific. Neighborhood in Toronto. Good stuff. Ah, finally, we got a Calgary. I like to wait until we have all regions of the country covered. Okay, well, welcome everybody. Wonderful to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our guest, Michael Froese, back again for a second week of fabulous sales training. This time, Michael's going to be focusing on some prospecting and mining your database tips, tools, and techniques. Michael, for those of you who missed the first time around or not familiar with him, is a managing broker of LePage Prime Real Estate in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where it is a blistering 36 degrees today.
Yeah.
As a second-generation realtor, Michael quickly became an award-winning agent for 7 years and eventually transitioned into a leadership role. Michael's primary focus is helping his agents increase their efficiency and effectiveness by becoming more strategic and focused. Michael's approach has led to his brokerage growing over 60% and increasing the productivity per agent by 35% since 2015. Amazing results, Michael. We can't wait to hear more of your secret sauce today.
Okay. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction, Kelly. You're doing great at that. You're really being quite natural with it.
It's taken a while. I'm way out of my comfort zone, but thank you.
That's all right. Practice makes perfect, right? All right. Well, anyways, I want to say good afternoon to everybody across the country. Thanks again for tuning in. I'll get off my face here in the slide in a second. But I do got to give out a shout out to all of my agents and staff at my office at LePage Prime. We were honored with winning the Brokerage of the Year for the national award for the LePage Brokerage of the Year in 2019. That was announced last Thursday. So I just want to give a shout out to all the primers out there because it's a team award, it's a team effort, and couldn't do it without you guys. So we're very proud, very excited of what we've been able to accomplish. And happy to give everyone across the country a little insight into some of what we do here and with some of the training and coaching that we do and share it with our network here. So the session today is called Moneyball for Realtors, right? So I hope that Phil is going to be happy that I associated his face with Brad Pitt. But this is a really interesting concept. At least I find it interesting. I hope you do too. For those of you who haven't seen the movie, it's a fantastic movie. And I'm a guy who watches movies over and over again. Like I can watch the same movie time and time again. I don't need to be surprised with the movie. And so Moneyball is one of my favorite movies to watch, especially late at night. It's quiet. It's a slow moving movie, but it's really well acted, really well written. It's a great movie. It's baseball, it's sports. I like sports. But I was watching it one time, it was at night, and I kind of like sat up and I was like, hey, this is exactly like real estate. This is kind of like realtors. So I'm going to give you a bit of a background. I'm not going to go through the whole movie, but essentially for those of you who don't know, who haven't seen it, there may be some spoiler alerts here, Brad Pitt plays a manager named, a general manager of the Oakland A's named Billy Beane. This is a true story. Billy Beane's a real person. He's still with the Oakland Athletics today. And this is his story about how the Oakland Athletics have a very poor baseball team. as far as their finances. And what happens in the story, in the movie, is that there's 3 all-star players for the Oakland A's, and their contracts are up, and they're going to get poached by free agency, right? Because the Oakland A's don't have the budget to retain all this talent, and so they're losing 3 all-stars essentially. And the clip here is from the scene as they're in their war room, and Billy Beane, the manager, is with all the scouts, and they're trying to, I guess, fill the void of losing all of these players. And there's a couple great lines in here that I'll share with you. And again, don't worry, I'm going to get to some stuff on how it applies to real estate. But one of the things they're talking about, these players that they're evaluating, whether to scout or to draft or a free agent, and they say things like, oh, he's got a good chin, a real strong jaw, the ball really explodes off the bat. And in one case, he even says, you know what, nah, he's got an ugly girlfriend. That means he doesn't have any confidence. Right? And Billy Beane is sitting there and he starts like his head's exploding because what are we talking about here? And the line that he used, he says, there are rich teams, there are poor teams, then there's 50 feet of crap, and then there's us, right? So the problem they're trying to solve is how do we play with the big boys? We can't think like them because we don't have the budgets. We got to do something different. And so all of this good chin, strong jaw, he's got a good look. These are all of these characteristics that he said, well, so this guy's a really good hitter? And they would all say, yeah, absolutely, he's a good hitter. He said, well, then if he's a good hitter, why doesn't he hit good? Right? Then why doesn't he hit good? Right? So what are the numbers telling us? Forget all this, what his girlfriend looks like and everything else. Let's talk about his actual hitting and the actual metrics behind his performance, and not actually just what he looks like. Right? So it goes on from there, and it really had to identify what's the problem. And so where I kind of perked up on the couch was hearing this is what I kind of get with agents in my office. And again, nothing, no disrespect to any of them or any agent who wants some help or some coaching, but they kind of look like this and say, man, I want to sell more homes. I need to sell more. Why can't I, or why am I not? They can't really figure out the problem with their business and to why it's not at the point that they want it to be. And so what's important was in the movie, they stripped away all of that usual traditional stuff, right? So this, as an example, one of the things I probably get the most is when I ask an agent, if they want help and they want to sell more homes and make more money, we'll talk, okay, well, what's the problem? Where do you think you need the help right now? And they'll say things like, well, you know what? I just got to get out there more, right? I just got to get out there. And I say, okay, well, what does that mean, right? I want to get out there, right? It's like having a good job. What does that mean, get out there? Where are you getting out to? Who are you talking with? What are you saying? I can walk my dog, that's getting out there, but it doesn't get me any results. I can go to people go to a bar and think that's networking. Well, you can just go get drunk with your friends without actually being productive. It's not good networking. So what does getting out there mean? And so in the movie, he goes through, he finds Jonah Hill's character, can't remember his name right now, his character, but essentially this guy is an economics and mathematics and statistics major from Yale, and he has all the numbers behind baseball. And so instead of looking at players on the outward, he actually went behind the numbers or inside the numbers and started mathematically figuring out where the Oakland A's could actually win some baseball games with their limited budget. And so one of the lines there, he says, teams have a misunderstanding of where wins come from, right? And so in baseball, people are trying to win championships. In order to win championships, you need to have wins. In order for you to have wins, you need to have runs. And they drilled this down into one metric they called, the getting on base. I'm gonna back up there. They drilled it down into getting on base. This one metric that they found was the most successful metric to track, okay, getting on base. Now, this does not mean they still have to pitch. Sorry to do all the baseball stuff here. You still have to pitch, you still have to field, you still got to steal bases, you still got to get signals, you still got to do all these. There's a million different things to do in baseball. But what these guys did was they drilled it down mathematically into one metric. We're going to get on base, right? And this was not the only thing they tracked, but it was the one that they said, this is going to be our focus. Because if we can focus on this one metric, this one thing has the most profound impact on getting down the line to a championship. Hopefully that makes sense. This isn't the only thing you need to do. This is the most important thing you need to do in order to get to the end result. So if we get guys on base, that means we're going to get runs. That means we're going to get more runs, means more wins. Hey, more wins means a potential championship. So what they did was essentially, it's called reverse engineering, right? And that's what I meant here. This is the only thing that they have to do. Why is my bird's not coming up here? I missed that slide for whatever reason. Sorry about that. So what they did is they reverse engineered, right? And this is, we do this a lot in our office. And reverse engineering is simply taking something, the definition there, this is from Webster's, is to examine the construction or composition of another manufacturer's product in order to create a duplicate or similar product. Long story short, that means here's something I want to take, like I'm going to examine what it is, I'm going to break it apart and figure out how to recreate it, right? So it's pretty simple, but that's what they did the Oakland A's. Let's try to pull apart what actually makes a championship. Let's actually find out what makes a win mathematically. And so that's where we're going today on a bit of a journey to actually reverse engineer your business and to figure out what is the most important metric that you need to track, that you need to focus on. There's a million things to do, but what's the one thing you can sit down and focus on that's going to actually have the best result towards making more money in this business? So I'm assuming everyone here likes to make more money, right? Good. This is not going to be a work-life balance talk. This is about making money. All right. So, hey, if you were with me last week, I used a triangle, I'm using a triangle again. This is your business, whether you like it or not. Now, if you have read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, that book before, you're going to recognize this triangle. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to read the book. But this is your business, whether you like it or not, no matter how many homes you sell, this triangle is going to represent your business. Okay? Every business is comprised of ends, right? Or sales. You have to have buyer sales and you have to have listing sales, right? Everyone pretty much does both. Maybe to different degrees, maybe to different balances, but everyone's going to have buyers, buyer homes and buyer sales and listing sales, right? In order to make a sale, you need to actually have a client. You can see we're starting to reverse engineer this a little bit. So you got to have sales. In order to have sales, you got to have clients. I've yet to make a sale without a client, right? You need to have people to buy these products. In order to get a client, you need to have an appointment. Again, I have yet to secure a client without talking to them first, without meeting them. I don't open my email one day and find a listing contract magically appearing, right? We actually have to go on appointments in order to convert them into clients. In order to have appointments, shockingly enough, we need to have leads, right? Now, I don't think anybody here is going to be shocked by this triangle. This is the triangle. This is your business. Looking from the bottom up, you need to get listing leads in, then you need to convert those leads into appointments. You need to go on those appointments. You need to do your presentation, get them signed up as a client and sign up as a listing. And then you need to market, advertise that home and negotiate a purchase sale contract in order for you to sell a listing. More listings, more money, right? I think that makes everyone agrees with that. This is typically, at each one of these junctures, there's a conversion percentage, right? There's a conversion that has to be done here. I'll just flip over to the buyer side quickly. If you get a buyer lead, a sign call, a website inquiry, a referral even, whatever the lead comes in, you have to pick up the phone or email back or text back. You have to converse with them and you need to convert them into an appointment, right? And then you need to convert them again. You go on that appointment, then you have a presentation, a buyer presentation to convert them into having a signed buyer contract. And again, then you got to go out, show homes here. So you show homes, negotiate contracts, write offers, etc., and you get up with the sale. Okay, same for the listing side. So taking that agent right now who's in my office and who says, hey, I really want some help. The vast majority of agents I find don't have these metrics tracked, right? They don't have this tracked. And so in that case, it's tough to know, how do we start? When you have these metrics actually tracked, for instance, and we'll go through an example here in a second. Let's take this person as an example. Let's say they're doing 30 ends, 10 buying ends, 20 listing ends. They're converting at an 80% rate when it comes to their buyer clients. So for instance, if we have 10 buyer clients, 10 buyer sales, and we are converting at 80%, which means how many, sorry, the question this asks is, back up for a second. If we're converting at 80%, how many buyer clients do we need to make 10 buyer sales, right? So these numbers right now, I want to quickly throw out there. I kind of pluck them. They might be accurate with you. They might be accurate with your market. They might be way off, but this is what you need to do to track them. So again, if I want to sell 10 buyers, I need, how many clients do I need? How many buyer clients do I need? If I'm converting 80%, which means 4 to 5 buyers stay with me, 1 strays, you know, every 4 to 5, the one, you know, buys with his uncle or decides not to buy or, you know, loses his job or whatever it is. That means I need 13 buyer clients in order to sell 10 buyer homes. So you're following with me, right? So now as we have 13 buyer clients, I got to know how many appointments do I need to go on to secure 13 buyers? Let's just say you have an amazing buyer presentation, right? I actually have a pretty good one. Maybe it's another training for another day, but you know what? Typically I felt if I got in front of a buyer, I'm getting them to be a client, right? So I converted quite high. Maybe yours is lower, etc. I don't know. But at a 95% conversion ratio, that means I need to go on 14 buyer appointments to get 13 buyer clients. And once I have 13 buyer clients, I'm going to close 80% of those buyer clients into 10 buyer ends. Does that make sense? I hope so. If there's any questions along the way from going too fast, please put in the Q&A. I get around, there's some high level nerdery going on right now. So I apologize for that, but stay with me. So anyways, as we look through here, so I got 14 buyer appointments. Now the question is, how many leads do I need to get those appointments, right? So let's just say it's a lower conversion ratio of 15% here. So this conversion ratio, especially for buyers, this rate here is going to be completely dependent on the type of lead that you're getting, right? I think we can all agree that a referral from your mortgage broker or from your lawyer or from your mom is going to be, you probably convert those a little higher. But if you're generating a lot of sign calls, web leads, all that kind of stuff, social media ads and clicks and whatever else, this conversion rate actually might be high for some of that stuff. So it really depends. But for the sake of the argument, I just picked 15% here. So that means how many leads do we need to generate in order to get 14 buyer appointments? Well, if you're converting at 15%, that means you need 93 buyer leads. Hopefully that makes sense. So working up the triangle, if I get 93 buyer leads, I'm converting 15% of those buyer leads to get face-to-face with an appointment with them. Out of those face-to-face appointments, I'm converting 95% of them because I'm awesome, and I'm getting 13 buyer clients. Out of those 13 buyer clients, 4 to 5 are going to buy, 1 out of 5 is going to walk. For whatever reason it is, so I'm going to end up with 10 sales with buyers. Hopefully that makes sense. So we've just reverse engineered from the top down on what we're actually going to need in order to get 10 sales. The same is true on the listing end here. I'm going to go through a little bit quicker. Let's say again, hey, I'm carrying 10 listings, 9 are going to sell, 1 might expire. Depending on your market, if you have a seller's market, maybe it's even higher. Maybe you're 10 out of 10. If you are in a buyer's market, maybe this number is a little bit lower, right? But in this case, hey, if I get 22 listings, I'm going to sell 9 out of 10 of those, which means I'm going to have 20 listing ends, right? From here, I'm going to close 3 out of 4 listing presentations, right? So again, I need 22 listings. How many presentations do I need to go on? Well, that means 29. So I go on 29 presentations, I close 3 out of 4, I got 22 listings. Hopefully you guys are jiving, following. Let's say again, on my listing leads, I picked an arbitrary number here, 50%. I need 58 listing leads in order to get 29 appointments. And again, I have to stress this number here, the conversion percentage, depends on the quality of the source of the lead, right? Internet leads, kind of junky, right? Referrals, repeat clients, that rate's a lot higher for those kind of leads. So it really depends. The biggest thing here is, do you actually know these numbers? And I'm going out on a limb, and I might say the vast majority of people, I just going by my sample size, my ops, don't have these numbers. They don't know. But if you think about when you know, man, I really got stuff to work with as a coach and as a broker trying to help my agents, I know where to go. If these numbers are drastically different, right? So in this case, let's just take this example exactly at face value here. I know exactly where to look at. I'm going to go, hey, this is a very low conversion rate depending. I can sit down with this agent and I can review all where they're getting their buyer leads. And depending on where they're getting their buyer leads, this maybe is a really good conversion, or maybe they need help, right? Maybe this conversion rate is different over here. Maybe their conversion rate here is 50% and they're only getting 1 out of 2 listing presentations. Or maybe it's worse, maybe it's 25% and they're only getting 1 out of every 4 listing presentations. We clearly then need to work on your listing presentation. I know where to steer the car. One of my lines with my agents always is, I can't steer a parked car. It's tough to come into the office and say, I need help. What have you done all day? I've done nothing. I sit on my duff. I got nothing to work with. Somebody comes to me with this kind of a diagram or these kind of numbers, you really got stuff to work with here. And we actually can identify the areas that need help in your business. It's a bit of an aside. Hopefully you guys are jiving with me. Now, this is where typically most of the training ends on this stuff. Some of you may have heard this, right? I know Tom Ferry and even our own Wade Webb, no disrespect, that guy's amazing, focuses on getting appointments. Get appointments, get appointments, get appointments, because the more appointments you have means the better you're gonna do. So let's focus on getting appointments. Nothing wrong with that, it's awesome. I just wanna drill down further, because what I found when I told agents, let's go get appointments, they said, well, how do I get appointments? I said, well, you gotta generate leads. They said, well, how do I generate leads, right? And then it's like, well, there's a million ways to generate leads, which we're gonna get into. But what I wanna know is not just how do I generate a whole bunch of leads, I wanna know what is the best chance? Where's the best lead? What is my highest chance of success? Where's the low-hanging fruit? Similar to the baseball Moneyball analogy, what's the on-base percentage? What's the best thing to track that gets me the best results? Hopefully that makes sense. So breaking the triangle down a bit further, we talked about how many leads. This is just the bottom of the triangle again. How many leads do we need to generate? 93 buyer leads, works up to 2 a week. I base this off of 46 work weeks. So you're taking 6 weeks off in this example. Listing leads, you need about 1.3 leads per week. So even that metric alone, we've drilled down a bit further. If you are sitting there and you've got a whiteboard in your office, here's your new target. You need 2 buyer leads a week and you need 1.3 listing leads a week with this current model. If you plug in your own numbers, these numbers will change, right? Hopefully that makes sense. So this is what's in front of me. I need these leads, right? So essentially that add them up, I need 3.3 leads. I'll choose to round up all the time. I need 4 leads a week. So here is an interesting question. If Doug, I'm going to offer you $100,000 cash. I've got a briefcase here. I'm going to give you 100 grand. If you come back by the end of the day with a signed contract, either a buyer contract or a listing contract. Okay, 100 grand, buyer contract, listing contract by the end of the day. No, you can't go to mom. No, you can't pay somebody $50,000 to take a listing, right? Go on the honor system here. You got to go out and genuinely get a brand new listing contract or buyer contract. Actually, I wouldn't mind hearing some of the answers in the chat here. How hard would you work and what would you do? For 100 grand, how hard would you work and what would you do? Okay, if you don't mind chatting in a few of these answers, I'd be interested to see. Right? How hard would you work and what would you do for 100 grand? So I'm going to assume a few things. Hopefully some answers come in. If not, no big deal. But I would assume for $100,000, you're going to go out there and you're going to hit it. You're going to pound the pavement. You're going to get after it for 100 grand, right? Right? Thank you, Eduardo. This is very hard. Exactly. It's kind of a rhetorical question, but the other thing is, what would you do, right? Now, this is where some people would go. Okay, so I hear some people coming in. I'd call everyone that I know. I call my database and former clients, right? So essentially, if you're going to get a lead, where's the best place to get a lead? A lot of people are going to do a bunch of different things. One, you could try social media. One, you could call all the FSBOs. You could go call your databases. A lot of people are chiming in here. One, you could you could put out flyers. You could flyer the neighborhood. You could pay neighborhood kids to drop off flyers in all the homes, right? You could go and try to leverage a listing that's currently in your office and put that on social media and try to get listing leads that way, or do an open house. Maybe do a last minute open house. You run to the house right now and go stick a sign for open house and do something about it. You could go knock on all the doors in your neighborhood. There are a ton of different ways to generate leads in this business, right? And none of them, I don't think, are bad. I'm not here to, you know, smack or talk smack about any of the ideas. Just like in baseball, there's way more things to do than get on base. In real estate, there are a lot of different ways to generate leads. But I want to know what's the one way, what's the best way, right? And before I get to that, I want to show you this interesting diagram here, because this is not that $100,000 that I showed you. It's not arbitrary. I didn't just pluck that number out of the sky. Okay. This is it's a cool little, it's called the LTV calculator. It's called the lifetime value calculator. What is a client worth? Now, in the example, I threw out there 100 grand to come back with a client, right? And that's just, okay, sounds like a really motivating number. But what is every client actually worth? And here's what this website does for us. It actually calculates the lifetime value. Now, these numbers are automatically plugged in here based on the averages in the United States. So let's just muck around with a couple of them here. So let's just leave average sale price. Let's go to the average commission rate. I'll speak for us in Winnipeg. It's basically 2% per side. So I'm going to say the average end is at 2%. Brokerage fee, okay, we'll leave it that. The average age of a client, let's say we're working with 40-year-olds. All right, so the average age of my client base is 40. Let's say they stay in the home 9 years. But hey, we're Royal LePagers. We can do better than 25% repeat. Let's go with 50%. Right? And let's say lifetime referrals per client. Each client refers to you 2 deals, 50% chance of them using you again. They're moving every 9 years. They're 40 years old. The client lifetime value is 100 grand and change. That's what your client is worth. Okay, so this is my wonderful kick in the ass moment, is where agents have, you know, if you can't get off your duff for $100,000, I made it up. Agents would usually say to me, well, you're not really giving me 100 grand. Yeah, you're getting 100 grand if you get this client. That's what a client is worth, $100,000. Yet we wonder, you know, what are we doing? Why can't we do it? And I'm not motivated enough. You just said you'd work really hard for 100 grand. That's the real stakes here. So I'll just play around this for a second because it's pretty interesting. But so you keep these things, and just I'll say for some of the young people out there or younger, if let's say your average age of your client, let's say is 28, so it's a millennial. Maybe in Toronto they can't afford their houses, but in Winnipeg you can afford a lot. There's a lot of 28-year-olds buying houses, and they usually stay in their home closer to 7 years instead of 9. And let's say they send you, millennials actually refer quite well. So let's say they in their lifetime give you four deals, and this still number of change stays at 50%. $439,000 is what that client is worth. Say what? That's nuts. So that's how much and how important clients are and getting them, right? So that was a little bit of an aside. I gotta go back to my slides here. So truly, I think we know this. The database is the lowest hanging fruit. This is the place to go. If you need a lead, this is the place to go. Your sphere of influence, your database. I know this is not going to be anything that is amazingly profound, but we're going to drill down and keep reverse engineering this into one thing that we can stay focused on. So let me ask you, if we're looking at your database, which database would you prefer? Joe's database or Sue's database? And I think, again, most of you are going to pick, the chats come in here. Which database are you going to pick? You can pick Joe or you're going to pick Sue. Which one would you rather have? The answer is, I would think most of you would pick Sue's database, right? Why? Very simply, I think everyone would see it has more A's. There's 350 people in Joe's and there's 350 people in Sue's, but Sue's got more A's. So knowing that, more A's equals more moolah, okay? So we're drilling this thing down a little bit more. How do we get more A's? I'm gonna show you in a sec. A quick little recap. If we want more money, this is the reverse engineering. We need sales. In order to make sales, we need clients. Clients, we need appointments. Appointments, we need leads. All right, everyone knows that. Basic real estate 101. The best place to get a lead, we know, is through your database. And the best place in your database to get a lead is through an A. So more A's, more money. Okay. So let's look at Sue's database. Where do A's come from? How do we get more A's? Well, the best place to get an A is either from another A, actually, or you have to convert B's to A's, right? You convert a B to an A, you get more A's, right? You don't meet an A on a street, right? An A is generally somebody I look at as, I follow the know you, like you, trust you formula. An A is somebody who knows me, likes me, and trusts me with real estate. A B is probably somebody who knows me and likes me. And a C is probably someone who just knows me, as in they know my name. They haven't built up enough and I haven't really built up enough trust. That's kind of my little quick formula for it. So you don't just get to build, people get to know, liking, and trusting meeting somebody in open house, right? They start off maybe as a C or a B, and you have to continually work them up the ladder to get to an A. So then we'd all agree again, more A's, more money, right? So the best place to get an A is either from an A or converting a B to an A. And then we have to take C's and we have to bring up more C's into B's, right? I know this isn't that much of a rocket science. So you have to adopt a system that proactively moves people up the ladder and actually has a return on your A's. Hopefully that makes sense. Because if you have a whole bunch of A's and you're not getting any referrals, you're missing out, right? A's are there to generate referrals. They're there to generate business. And we're going to talk about how to get those, how to move people up the ladder and how to pull them out and how to pull referrals out of your A. Because I do believe, I think most people would agree, referrals and leads are going to come from your A's more than any other letter here. You'll get some from your B's and not many from C's. Maybe depending on the marketing campaigns you have running, but most of your business is coming from A's. So how do you move people up from a C's to a B's to an A? This is a quote. I can't remember where I read it. I can't remember who said it. So I apologize that I cannot give credit for this on whoever it is. But the quality of our relationships is determined by the depth of our conversations. Okay. If you want better relationships, this is for, whether, in marriage or personal relationships or your clients, but the quality of your relationship is determined by the depth of your conversation. And you can think about this in your daily life. You have work colleagues, what you talk about. If you just talk about the weather and, what's for dinner and what the latest, what the score of the Jets game was, or the Leafs game, they lost, is, it's a surface level relationship. But you have deeper conversations with people, it enhances the quality of the relationship, right? So that's what we need to do with our C's, B's, and A's is we actually need to deepen our conversations. And so looking at this formula all over again, this is my on-base percentage here. We need to have more A's, which again, we end up needing more A's, conversations. We need to have more and deeper conversations, right? Deeper conversations and more of them. This here, right here, is my on-base percentage. If you have more conversations with people, right, real conversations, and you in turn will get more A's. You'll have more A's refer you to other A's, and you'll be able to move B's up. You need to have more conversations equals more A's. More A's means more leads means more appointments means more clients means more sales, which means more money. So if you're my agent in my office and you need to help focusing, you want to know what's that one thing, Michael, that I can do this week or this month, or what I need to focus on to get my business off the ground or to increase my sales, this is what we're tracking. I'm saying, what are your conversations? Okay, that's your on-base percentage. We need to get you talking to people. Sounds so simple, right? It's kind of like getting out there, but I'm going to actually show you now in the next few minutes about how to have these conversations. Because there's such a thing as a productive conversation and there's such a thing as a non-productive conversation. I think we can all agree to that as well. Can you go for lunch with somebody and not make any headway as far as your real estate relationship or professional relationship? Right? Absolutely. You can go for lunch and just BS about, again, the weather and sports and not get any deeper, not talk about real estate. And then you just went out for lunch and you really didn't accomplish anything, right? You can just have useless conversations. So I want to give you some tips and break down actually how to have better conversations, right? Because again, at the end of the day, better conversations is going to end up into more money. A little resource for you is a book called Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents. These are the guys who are from Curator. And I read this book, and it's a really a cool book, and they just kind of give you exactly some scripts and dialogues. And so I pulled out some of those into this presentation, but I want to just give them a shout out there. I thought it was a really good book. First thing that I want to establish is, again, what is a conversation? Conversations can be over phone, text, DM, or face-to-face. Okay. Yes, I'm all for the phone and all for face-to-face. Those are obviously kind of the more powerful ways of having conversations. But this day and age, especially if there's any young people watching, getting somebody on the phone is increasingly difficult, nor is it really that desired by the person receiving the phone call. So I'm totally open. I say conversations you can have over text or DM as well. I do not think that email qualifies as a conversation. It's like writing a letter. They're cool. Let's say don't email. But as far as having a conversation, which is a dialogue back and forth, I don't find email to be particularly that effective. So those are kind of my my 4 ways of having a conversation, I tell my agents. This one, I believe we all know this as well. Following the Ford system, when you have a conversation with somebody, this is just basic stuff here. Talk about their family. How's your wife? How's your kids? How's work going? What are you doing for fun? How was the last weekend? What are you doing this summer? All that kind of jazz. We know how to do that stuff, right? We're pros. The last one I always found was a bit tough, and was about how do I really get into dreams, or how do I turn this into real estate? And I find a lot of agents really have problems picking up the phone or having these conversations because they didn't want to be perceived as a sleazy salesperson. So they'd call a past client, talk about the weather, see how they're doing, and hang up. Not a horrible phone call. It's better than not making a call at all. I call those kind of check-in phone calls. They're great, but could they be more productive? I believe they can. I'm going to give you one question that can turn a casual conversation. If you're a phone person who checks in with their clients all the time, which is great stuff, here's one question you can add to the mix that might actually give you a little bit of help. And that is simply this one. Super easy. It's out of this book. What are your plans for your home in 2020? What are your plans for your home this year, next year, 5 years, whatever you want to put on there? What are your plans for your home? Right? So you're going about how's the wife, how's the kids, how's work? Great. Hey, by the way, what are your plans for your home this year? Hey, all that's fantastic. What are your plans for your home in 2020? And you're going to get a few different answers. You might get I have no plans whatsoever, nothing. We're perfectly happy. Rarely is that the case. If you own a home, you're always working on it. You're always doing something. You're always thinking, right? Rarely do you get that answer. And if you do get that answer, it's, hey, fantastic. Sounds great. Glad you're so happy. Most of the time you're going to get is somebody either looking to, maybe they're saying, well, we're happy right now, but, I'm starting to keep an eye on things out there, right? Okay, cool. That is your in to now actually become a real estate agent. You're not just the person phoning, asking about their dog. You're now becoming a real estate agent in this conversation. And okay, that gives you the in to talk about, oh, well, what are you looking at? You know how to take it from there. The other answer you might get with this is, well, you know what? We're looking at renovating the kitchen, right? Or we're going to do a bathroom. I want to bust out a wall in the basement, whatever it is. If they're planning a renovation, this is now your time again to be a real estate agent and offer value, offer help. Don't just go, that's interesting. Hope it turns out great. Let me know when you're done so I can tell you the new value. Although that actually isn't horrible. Maybe this is a time you say, I have some great contractors. Maybe you say, hey, would you like to actually know the post-sale renovation value of your home? Hey, are you getting this finance? I can maybe help with some financing options. I have a great broker who is able to do purchase plus improvement loans. Whatever it is, it's your time to interject and actually be useful. I tell this to my agents all the time. If you want to be remembered, you got to be useful. I know where my phone is most of the time because my phone is very valuable to me. If I lose my phone, I'm screwed. So I know where my phone is at all times. And if I don't know where it is, I panic, right? You guys have probably been there. Your real estate agent should be useful for you when you're not looking to buy or sell a home. Okay? Agents are useful when they're looking to buy or sell. You need to be useful and valuable during that in-between zone. We talked about in the graph I showed, 7 to 9 years. Man, so that means you don't do jack squat for 7 years? No, you've got to be important. You've got to be valuable during that time. And it starts with talking to them. Shocking, right? All right. Oops, sorry. Now, the thing with this and building this database and having these conversations is, yes, it is asparagus. For those of you who don't know anything about asparagus, it takes 2 years to grow asparagus. Okay, so it's a slow burn. It's a slow build. And yes, this database mining, this database having conversations, talking to people, asking good questions, having better conversations, it does take time. But I'm going to give you a couple other lines and dialogues and some tricks to kind of put the steroids into it, to spray the fertilizer on this asparagus and get them growing a little quicker. Hopefully you like that. Oops, sorry, a couple little formatting errors here. I apologize. I was screwing around with my slides last minute. If you want better results, you've got to start asking for business. There's a line, a parable, or an ancient script, we don't call it, that says you have not because you ask not. If you want something, got to ask for it, okay? Also known as a squeaky wheel gets the grease. Now, what agents hate doing is asking for business because they feel sleazy. They feel like they're just, iching, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to just get, and they don't do it. But if you don't ask, you don't get. Okay, I don't want to just have somebody hope they send me business. I want to be proactive about it, but I want to be strategic about it as well. Okay, so the principle here that I really follow is you got to give before you can get. Okay, the analogy I use is if I gave you $20 and said, here's $20, and then I said, oh, you know what? Can I borrow $10? You'd probably, or can I say, can I have $10? You'd be very inclined to give it to me. Why? Because you're still $10 ahead, right? So I like to get ahead. I want to have people feeling like they owe me. And I don't have time to get into it right now, but there's a phenomenal book, Influence, which talks about the psychology of people and why people feel indebted to one another. And if you give somebody something, even if they don't take it, by you offering, they psychologically, subliminally, subconsciously feel like they owe you. Okay, so that's why we give because we're great, generous people, but we also give because there's a psychological benefit to it that they actually feel like they owe us. So what I train my agents to do is you got to give them something first, and then you got to ask, right? So these are a few different ideas here. This is going to make no sense to you. I'm going to throw them all up here. These are 3 easy ones that I ask my agents to offer all the time. The first one on the left-hand side there, a home maintenance manual. There's some national home warranty. You can Google these things. We downloaded it, put our own branding on it, ripped it off, repackaged, I should say. And we sent it out and we give it to our agents and they can send it to their clients. Now, this middle one here, free home evaluation. Shocker, again, you can offer, again, an updated market evaluation or updated market stats. You can ask them if they would like to receive it, or you can just send it to them. This, while I have Homer Simpson here, is looking like a spy, is because is for a neighborhood spy program. Now, I think in Ontario, you have your solds are actually becoming public, so this may or may not apply to you. But right now, solds are private where we are. So what I ask my agents to do is that you pick up the phone and you call the client and you ask them if they would like to receive monthly solds. So an update on all the homes that have sold in your neighborhood. And you can do this if you are on your MLS system. I'll speak for Matrix. If you, instead of going to active in the neighborhood, you can go to sold in the neighborhood and set up an automated notification system. Instead of sending them new listings for sale, I send them sold listings. And it comes out every 30 days with my branding, and it gives them a link, and it gives them access to all the solds that sold in that neighborhood. So what I tell my agents to do is pick up the phone, explain the program. Hi, Doug. It's Michael Froese from LePage Prime. How you doing? FORD, follow the Ford system. And then say, hey, the reason for my call is I came across this wonderful system we just created at our office. It's called the Neighborhood Spy Program. And all it is every month I can send you all the homes that have sold in your neighborhood. What this does is with a click of a link, you see all the homes that they've sold and their asking price and their sale price. What this does for you, Doug, is it allows you to call bullshit when your neighbor, when neighbor tells you how much he got for his house. You can actually look it up and find out, how much he's lying to you, right? And we have a little chuckle. Anyways, Doug would be interested in receiving this. Absolutely. And it's like, hey, cool. Most people don't say no to this. And you say, okay, now, Doug, what's the best email address to send it to? Or would you like to have it physically mailed out? They'll say email address. You set up the email address. Couple other magic questions here. One, Doug, what other areas might be interested in following? right? Why is that? I'll send him his neighborhood, but maybe he's got his eye on something else. So true story. We did this once when agents did it, and they said they were looking in an area called Tuxedo. They lived in the north, and they actually looked at a neighborhood in the south called Tuxedo. And they said, well, why, wait, I'll send you listings in Tuxedo. Why is that? Well, we've always had our eye on it. We'd love to move there one day. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. You got a new lead. Maybe it's a ways out, but you've got something. You've deepened your conversation. Now you got a bit of a lead. The next great question is a bit of a lead generator. If you aren't, if you don't want to ask boldly, hey, give me some business. Here's a great question. Who else at work? Who else at school? Who else at in our hockey team? Whatever it is, do you think might be interested in receiving this? Okay, so you've offered them something cool, you've offered them an evaluation, you've offered them a home maintenance manual, you've offered them a neighborhood spy program, and you ask, who else might like this? The reason we don't say, who else do you know might like this, is because who do you know? You know hundreds of people, you know thousands of people. Who do you know is, your brain does not, it's too many people to click into. But if you can narrow it down a little bit, if you know this person through, there's a past colleague, and they worked for IBM, say, hey, who else at IBM, might be interested in this? Now that the person you're talking to is thinking of 30 people, 40 people, even though IBM's a big company, they have their little unit that they work with, their brain thinks about 30 people instead of 3,000, right? And they say, well, you know what? Maybe Susan might be interested in this. Now you got a lead, right? Because of a good conversation. You started with Ford, you offered them something, and you asked, okay? This one here is probably, if you want the steroid shot, if you're talking at conversations, this one's a great steroid shot into your business. You can offer them, again, we talked about spy program, maintenance manuals, evaluations. You can offer them all kinds of things. This one I find has the best and quickest results. And this is information about a listing. Okay, so essentially, especially a pocket listing. If you have a listing that's coming up in the neighborhood, or if you have a buyer that's, if inventory, depending on your market, whatever you need more of, if you need more buyers or need more sellers, you can tailor this, right? So let's just say I have a pocket listing, right? So I have a listing coming to market, it's in 2 weeks, and it's gonna be in a neighborhood, and we have a seller's market right now in Winnipeg. So what I can do is I can call up some people in my database or some of the people who live in the neighborhood, and I can say, Doug, follow the Ford system, right? And I say, hey, Doug, reason for my call is I have an amazing listing coming up at 123 Fraserwood Cove, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's phenomenal. I know you live in the neighborhood, and I thought you might like to choose your neighbor. Do you have anybody, or do you know anybody at work, at IBM, at school, that may be interested in moving into a 3-bedroom in Fraserwood? Right? You've done a couple things here, and I apologize I didn't put up that script. If you want to hit me up later for it, you can. But what that does is a couple things. One, that is a chance for instant business. What happens if he says, oh, you know what? Yeah, my niece has been wanting to move into here. That sounds perfect for my niece. Great. Get the niece's phone number. You know how to deal from there. And what happens? You maybe double land that house. Maybe she doesn't like the house, but you've picked up the niece as a buyer now, right? It's a way of getting instant business. The other thing to do with it is it shows, even if he's like, nah, nobody comes to mind, sorry, say, hey, no problem. As you go about your days, you go through work, keep it in mind. If anybody starts talking about it, shoot them my way. Worst case scenario, you've made contact with your client, you've connected a little bit, right? And you've asked and you've tried to get business. What does Doug think when he wants to list his home? Hey, Michael was hustling. Michael called me. Michael just didn't sit on his duff, put up a sign, and wait for the MLS to do his job. Michael was actually being proactive. Michael was actually trying to sell the house. I want an agent who's going to do that, right? Because especially, I don't know if it's like for you guys, but agents get knocked a lot. Sometimes we make big commissions, and sometimes the market does the job for us. We don't do a whole lot, and that's a knock. So you've actually just proven your value to Doug, even if you don't get anything. So it is the simplest, easiest phone call to make. Talk about a pocket listing or an upcoming listing or a buyer. Doug, you know what? I'm wondering, I have these buyers, they need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home in Canterbury Park. Just wondering, are you interested in selling, or do you know anybody at work who might be interested, or in your neighborhood who's talked about selling? Because I got to get Bill and Susan a house, right? Same thing. Losing my voice, I apologize. Great phone calls to have. If you don't have a listing coming up, sorry, I don't have great slides for this. I'm kind of going off the cuff. If you don't have clients, if you don't have an upcoming listing, you have an office, you have a company that certainly does. So get it on the water cooler, have more conversations with agents, find a listing, even if it's on the MLS already, right? It's on the MLS, it's listed in your company. I find that to be a little easier. Nothing's stopping you from picking up the phone and calling and saying, hey, you know what? There's an amazing listing at 123 Jameswood Street. Just curious, Doug, do you have anybody who's interested in moving there? It's a great deal. I can't believe it isn't sold yet. It's got a great price and blah, blah, blah. Even if it isn't your listing, you can still promote. You can still have a reason to call people, to talk to your neighborhood, to talk to your database about something other than what the weather's like. Hopefully that makes sense. Hope you guys are jiving. We're almost done. So here's a couple other questions you can ask. Some of them are a bit more forward than others, but it's up to you. So who do you think at work is the next to make a move? Again, that's a David Knox question. That is, instead of asking, do you know anybody who wants to buy or sell a home? That's a yes or no answer, right? You want to know, hey, who's the next person to make a move? Who do you know at work? Hey, who in your family? You have a big family. Who of your cousins? Who's the next one to make a move, right? This one is a bit of a softer approach as well. I find agents are, again, they don't like asking for business. They feel guilty about it. But I said, if people need your help and you're a real good realtor and they need help, who am I to deny somebody help? I want to help as many people as possible. So I'll use that dialogue a lot. I said, hey, who else do you know that might need my help? Who do you know at work that might need my help? That's a very soft way of asking for business, right? And we talked about this one. Who else at work do you think might be interested in this thing that I just offered you? Cool. All right, so a few extra nuggets in there. All right. The other way of really getting the steroids out of into that asparagus, right? So number one, ask. You got to learn how to ask. Number two, you got to deliver some wow. Blow their minds. This is actually the fun part of our job. It's the fun part of customer service. It's the fun part of owning a business. Blow someone's mind, right? If you're a telemarketer, you're not going to blow a lot of people's minds. But we have an amazing ability to blow someone's mind. So if you want to be remarkable or referable, you do something worth making a remark, right? So here's a couple quick tips. Number one, read this book. This is probably the most influential book that I've ever read. I read it for the first time probably almost 20 years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. I read it every few years just to keep me fresh. You can read this book in probably an hour and a half, 2 hours tops, even if you're a slow reader. It's a quick, easy read, but it really attacks the attitude. You're not going to get 5 simple steps to anything, but you're going to get an attitude change about creating raving fans and not just having satisfied customers. Anyways, great book, read it. What my practical tip here would be is use social media as a listening tool and then respond in real life. If you want to start delivering some wow, if you want people to, when they go into work, they start talking about you. If you want to be remarkable, start doing something other than sending postcards and everything else. Postcards, market updates, all those things, cool. But if you really want to get to that, you really want to get referrals from A's, you really want to bring a B to an A and you want to have more A's in your database, start delivering some wow. So use social media as a listening tool, respond in real life. What happens? People put their life events up on social media, right? They put up with having for breakfast on social media, but they put up major life events. Somebody has a baby, somebody's getting married, right? All these different things. First thing you can do, you can compile lists on Facebook, especially. Put all of your clients into a list, right? And you can even have them A's, B's, and C's or whatever you want. Follow them, see what they say, interact with them on social media. That's all good. So they say happy birthday, or it's their birthday, what do you do? Happy birthday, have a fantastic day, you're amazing, smiley face. Fine, fine, but what's better? What's better? A phone call is better. A video message is better. A personal note, a handwritten card is better. A birthday cake to their office is better. Balloons to their office is better. Flowers, whatever it is, even going to their spouse and saying, here, give them this so that they look good. There's all kinds of ideas on a way to blow their mind for their birthday. But that's really what it is, respond in real life. If they're having they're having a kid, graduation is coming up right now. So I know LePage did a bunch of graduation stuff. Sorry, this is again off the cuff. Oh, I hope I can find the book. Shoot, it's in my, you get in the book by John Maxwell called Talent is Never Enough. you give that for a graduation gift to the parents to give to their kid. It's an amazing book that talks about, hey, you can be as talented as you want, but you actually have to put all the work in and all these other things in there. Do something, respond in real life, for crying out loud. Use social media, not to talk, not to blab, not to spew, but to listen and then respond in real life, and you will get a lot of wow. You will get the people talking at their workplace, right, about you. Hope there's a little tip. Oh, that's a really blurry picture. You may have seen this movie. I'm going to tell you quickly How to Lose Your Clients in 5 Years, starring Michael Froese. Okay, this is what happened to me. When I started managing, I stopped selling, slowly but surely. Here is what I did remarkably, strategically well to lose all my clients in 5 years. That's it. Stop talking to them. I still send stuff. I'm still on social media. I'm a broker. I'm pretty visible. The company's visible. I don't think any one of my clients over the last, when I was selling for 7 years, they didn't think I went out of business. They didn't think I left the real estate industry. They know I'm in real estate. But they stopped calling me. And I didn't tell them to stop calling me. I just stopped talking to them. That's it. And here's why. Here's what I learned about why that's so powerful about not talking to them. They're already cheating on me. Your clients, as great as they are, as wonderful as you think that they may be, they're already talking to other realtors. And you know this just through common sense. There's realtors everywhere, right? And if you're not talking to your people, there's already another realtor talking to them, because they're running to that realtor in their neighborhood. They're running to that realtor at the garage sale in the neighborhood. They're talking to that realtor at their baseball team or their softball team or at church or wherever they're going. They're talking to other realtors. I promise you. And so no matter how many cards you send them, how many market updates you send them, they're going to go with the agent that they are talking to. And I've watched this happen in my business. I remember these were my best clients, bought and sold repeatedly, repeated referrals, A+ clients. Their house comes up for sale. It was probably my 3rd year managing. And I hadn't talked to them in, God knows how long, 3 years. But they knew me. I know their family. I did business with their brother, all kinds of stuff. They know me, but I haven't talked to them. They listed with a new agent. And I said, hey, I called them and I just said, why, hey, why didn't I get that business? And they said, hey, you're awesome, Mike, but you know what? We've just been talking to this person over the last number of weeks at church about blah, 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 blah. And we really felt good and we went with them. We wanted to give them a shot. I didn't lose because of my marketing plans, my commission, or anything else. I had more experience than them. I have everything else on them. I have a better company. I have everything on them. I didn't talk to them. Best client, gone. That $437,000 ended right there because I didn't talk to them. So if you want to know if this is your business, which it is, if you ignore the ends there, 30, maybe the ends or whatever it is, this is your business, whether you like it or not. Everyone's business is structured the same. And this is the path. If you want to reverse engineer that business, it's more A's. It all comes down to conversations. So my question to you is, how many conversations are you going to initiate every day? If you need to get whatever the math was in the previous slide, and you needed, what was 3.3 leads a day or 3.3 leads a week, how many conversations are you going to initiate to get those 3.3 leads? How many conversations? How many conversations? And if you want one thing that's going to propel your business to get to this dollar sign, it starts here. It just drills down, just like in baseball. This is the championships. This is your money. This is your GCI. It all starts here. So that's what I got for you today. Thank you very much. If there's any questions, I'll stick around. I got some extra time if anybody has any questions or wants some more insight into any of this. A couple things I always, I don't know what it's like hearing this. I only hear myself. And so I hope it was okay. I know there's a lot of nerdery. And I cut out a lot of slides, to be honest, because of the time, about other metrics that you can track. So if anybody wants to know more about that, I'm happy to chat more. I've got lots of different metrics that we track besides just conversations and database.
Duncan McLeod said it really well. You've wowed us again, Michael. Really.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, thanks, Duncan. Appreciate it.
I love the way that you approach this webinar, certainly from, reverse engineering, because that's what we do at Royal LePage. We reverse engineer everything. I did see someone in here ask for some scripts. You were, when you were going, when you were talking about, not the yes, no answers, but really engaging and wanting to know if someone at work. So we have your slides, and they'll be posted on RLP Network. And there's certainly, the discussions there, but any tips that you have from the perspective of providing a specific script?
As far as like the asking questions or asking for business scripts, I think there's 3 of them on there, which is pretty much the 3 that I use, or that we kind of coach and train. Everyone makes it their own, right? I don't actually really like scripts. I like dialogues. You probably all heard that before. But I like concepts, right? And I just want to I want to make sure the concept is there. And when it comes to asking for business, again, I just find open-ended questions are better than closed, right? You don't want to ask yes, no questions. So you want to just ask open-ended questions. And I really, a lot of these I've coached more than I did my own business. My own business, I really went with the helping one. I said, hey, you know what? I was a bit more forward as well. I would call my A pluses, and because they're A pluses, you can have a bit more candid conversations with A pluses, right? I can call it my best friend in the world right now, right? And I'm sure anybody watching this can call up their best friend, their, their family member, or whoever it is. And I don't have to go through any of that stuff. I can say, Gordy, it's my best friend. I say, Gord, I'm starving. Give me some business. I'm like, get your ass, go to your school. Today he's a high school teacher. Go to school, get me a lead. And he'll be like, yeah, okay, fine, leave me alone. And he'll go do it, right? So there are those conversations you have to modify based on the person. But that's what's great about having regular conversations, is you actually get to know the people and you know how to ask. And some people you can be a bit more bold with, and other ones, I would just say, hey, my goals, I want to help more people this year than I've ever helped before. Can you help me with that? Who do you know that might need my help? Right? It comes across a lot differently than, hey, I need money to give me a client, right? So hopefully that helps a little bit. I just see one thing through the chat here. You said you touched on people not liking the phone as much. Would you say text is as good as a call these days? Yeah, I think text is great to initiate a face-to-face or a phone call, usually a face-to-face. I would use text for, if I can back up on my slides here in a second. Oop, those are my bonus slides in case I run. Where did my thing go here? Sorry. Come on, there it is. If you're looking, if you're doing something like this, offering these things, I don't think that's great over text. If you're doing something like this, talking about a listing, that might be great that could be used better as a text. If you're trying to have a conversation and you want to actually deepen a relationship from a B to an A, let's say, nice little rhyme. No, text is not going to deepen a relationship. You can't get deep over text, right? You can't really get into, what their plans are. Like, would you just text somebody, wait, what are your plans for your house in 2020? That's weird, right? So text is good for potentially something like this, like pocket listings, or using it, hey, I came across the CMA, interested in valuations. You might be able to, like that. So I'd say text is not, don't rule it out, but use it wisely. If your goal is to deepen the relationship, no. Start with text in order to get talking and probably arrange a face-to-face where you can talk about this stuff on a deeper level. Hopefully that answers that question.
I think you did, and I'm just going through the list, and I couldn't see any others. You were so thorough and informative. We all really appreciate your support for the past 2 weeks, and there's a reason that you're the brokerage of the year for Royal LePage. So thank you so much, Michael, for your time, for all your giving. Everybody else, just so you know, we are posting this recording as well as Michael's slides on RLP Network, the Maintaining Momentum page. I've posted it in the chat. If you want to just go grab that URL. Can we have him back, please? That's a great question. So, Mike.
Happy to do that. There's a lot. So I'll leave a tasty little teaser if you want it more. Is we really tracked right here. There's only 3 ways to make money in this in this business, either sell more homes, have to increase your sale price or increase commission. We focused on one of these arms. There wasn't time to get into any other ones, but we focused on this one, then drilled home that one. There's lots of different things about all these as well, and a lot more nerdery charts and math, but I'm done for the day. I'm already hot and sweaty, so.
Well, thank you so much. It is 36 degrees after all in Winnipeg.
Yeah, it feels like it in my office right now. Does it look, I don't have myself on the screen. Do I look like I'm
No.
on fire? Because I feel like
You look wonderful as always. And
oh, geez, thanks. I owe you a drink.
you're a furnace of power and information. So thank you so much, Michael. Take care, everybody.
Take care, LePage Network. Love you guys.